Greetings, gamers. Today I am going to show you how to create a button-based voting system. As you can see, when I click the button, these music sequencers will go forward. I'm going to evenly distribute them, except for adding 4 in the third option, which is the second to furthest to the right. Now, as we wait for the timer to run out, we should see that the vote system should pick option 3, because that's what I added the most votes to. And lo and behold, it chooses option 3. This will take at minimum 14 channels. Step 1 is getting your buttons. For this build, we're going to be using 4 different options, therefore 4 different buttons. I chose to use channels 1 through 4 for the buttons. If you want to follow along exactly, you can also choose these options. Next up, it's time to place our sequencers. Since there are 4 buttons, I'm going to be using 4 sequencers. Keep in mind that the buttons don't have to be right next to the sequencers, they can really be anywhere. Now that we have our sequencers down, we need to edit the settings. Starting with the sequencer assigned to channel 1, resume on channel 1, and stop on channel 5. It is very important that you do resume and not start. I almost made the same mistake in the video. Feel free to pause the video if you want to see my exact settings. However, each sequencer to the right is just adding 1 to each setting before it. Aw baby, it's trigger time. Place down the trigger in the middle of the first tile. Since we're on the 4th sequencer, you would like to have it transmit on channel 8, and always disable on channel 9. If you remember, channel 8 is the same channel which disables the sequencer. Finally, and most importantly, make sure that the trigger can only transmit once. This is so that the sequencer won't infinitely loop in the same area. Then, copy it over to the other sequencers, making sure to only change the transmitting channel. Do not change channel 9 at all. This is the part you can tweak to your liking. Each set of triggers counts as 1 vote, so you can make it as long as you want. For the time being, I'm going to make my sequencers a length of 5. Next, with a grid snap of 2, copy all of the tiles and duplicate them into every available space. For now, however, leave the final tile empty. Now, using a separate trigger from the ones we were using before, fill in the final tile at the end of the sequencers. Starting at sequencer number 4, change the channel on the trigger to channel 14. Once again, decrease this number by 1 for every sequencer you go down. Your next step is to somehow forget where the timed objective is in the device menu. Next, place down the time device. I highly recommend using a channel to start the timer automatically. However, we will be doing it manually. You can make the time as long or as short as you want. However, the important part is changing the completion trigger to channel 9. Next, we need a way for the timer device to resume all of the sequencers. Placing a trigger down, set the channel to output when receiving from channel 9, which is the same as the timer device. Next, set it to output on channel 1. Repeat this for channels 2 through 4, making sure not to change channel 9 at all. Finally, we need a way for the system to only choose one winning option. Set 4 new triggers to transmit on 10 when receiving from 11 through 14, which are the same channels at the end of each sequencer. Place 4 more channels which, when receiving from channel 10, will activate channels 5 through 8. Essentially, these 8 triggers will deactivate all the sequencers when a winning option is chosen. The back 4 triggers are essentially your outputs. You can choose to do whatever you want with them, but for now, I'm gonna use Hud devices on them. Now, we have to edit our system just a little bit to prevent ties from breaking the system. The solution to this is something called priority. Basically, if you have your triggers in a certain way, it'll choose one of the channels to prioritize if there is a tie. For example, if there's a tie between channel 4 and channel 1 will always be chosen the way I have it set up. The last alteration is to prevent the system from breaking when the vote count is reached before the timer goes off. This is a very simple fix. You simply have to make the timer stop on channel 10, which is the same channel that transmits once a winning option is chosen. After all that hard work, it's time to test this bad boy out. After painfully activating this time device very slowly, I now have a few seconds to input my votes. For now, I'll put the majority in the first sequencer. If this system works correctly, the first option should be chosen. Just as planned, the first option was chosen. That's about it. There probably are and will be better ways of doing this in the future, but for now, this is the best I can get. Thank you for watching, and have a good day or night.